opening statement a little bit earlier, noted that one or two of you who've been here for some time with us, sometimes it is not as easy to follow things after we've been in the courtroom. Sometimes folks get tired, particularly later in the morning, early in the afternoon, after lunch. If you're having any issues, let me know. If y'all could keep an eye on each other, just make sure everybody's alert and doing all right and able to focus on the evidence in the courtroom, that would be appreciated by the court. All right. But with that, if I say if we are ready to proceed, as I understand, Mr. Sheffield. All right. On behalf of the defendant, Travis McMichael, Mr. Sheffield.
Yes, defense calls Travis McMichael. Yeah.
Stand up. Yeah. Please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and sit.
Thank you. Okay. You've seen this done with several witnesses.
I have.
It's your turn.
Yes, sir.
Travis, are you aware that you do not have to testify?
I am.
How are you aware of that?
You have explained it to me several times. Then the judge this morning has also explained it to me.
Are you aware that you are presumed innocent and you have the right to remain silent?
Leading and irrelevant.
Yeah. We don't need to go through all this. This was done before. So let's get to this testimony.
Okay. Travis,
Yes, sir.
do you want to testify?
I do.
Why?
I want to give my side of the story. I want to explain what happened and to be able to say what happened from the way I see it.
Okay. Well, let's do that. Let's talk about Satilla Shores first.
Okay.
When did you move into Satilla Shores?
I moved into Cellphone Shores September of 2018.
Okay. Had you visited Satilla Shores before then?
Yes, my parents moved there in 2013, and I'd be there frequently visiting them.
When you moved into Satilla Shores, where did you move into?
My parents' house.
Okay. What types of things would y'all do? Who was living in the house with you when you moved in 2018?
Okay, my parents, my mother and father were there at the time, and then I moved in, and I had my son every other week, and so he would be with us then. And then my sister moved back in a few months afterwards.
Okay. How old was your son at that time?
He was just turned 2.
Okay. What type of people live in the Satilla Shores neighborhood?
Cellphone Shores is an older community. You have a lot of retirees, and then also you start to see young families in there as well. So any given evening you see older couples around, or young families with children out on the roads and the yards and stuff like that.
All right. And seeing old people around and young children out in the yards, are there any other types of activities that you would typically see going on in the Satilla Shores neighborhood while you were living there?
Yes, it's one of the typical small town neighborhoods. You'd have people ride around with golf carts, people walking dogs, people with their kids with little Power Wheels trucks, and children on bicycles, and it's just a real quiet community. It's typical.
Did you ever interact with people or see people when you were out in the neighborhood?
Yeah, it's files out in the front yard or checking the mail or doing whatever. Everybody's friendly, so you'd stop, talk to, hey, how you doing? Nothing, didn't hang out with very many people, but yeah, we talked frequently. Anybody that come by, people stop and talk to each other.
Was there any crime happening in the Satilla Shores neighborhood that you were aware of, going as far back as when you first moved in September of 2018?
It was rare at first, but it started building up.
When did it start to build up?
I would say about October, November. It was about time I moved into Satilla Shores. About September, October of 18 is when it started starting to roll on.
And what types of things were you aware of that were happening at that time?
What I was hearing was there was car break-ins.
It's not all for the truth, it's all for ultimately for how it impacted him and what he did.
It's overruled. Go ahead.
So yeah, it was you see car break-ins. You'd hear people not loitering, but in the yards, suspicious persons. There was, I know there's, I've heard a trailer stolen, just little stuff like that, but it was continuous. It was every couple months you'd hear something else, something.
Okay. Did you ever have anybody going through your things in the neighborhood or have any crime happening to you back in that September 18, October, November, and moving into 19?
I did. Right at the first, I started having my truck was actually broken into, or it was open. You see stuff was scattered around. Nothing was taken. Didn't think anything of it. And then by February
Of what year?
of 2019,
Okay.
I bought a little car to drive back and forth to work, and it was broken into numerous times. I got to the point where I would just leave the thing unlocked because they broke the door handle and they broke the glove box. So I just kind of left it as just let them have at it, leave everything else alone. But it was continuous.
Did you discuss this with your mother and father?
I did.
Did you discuss it with your sister after she moved in?
Yes.
Did they share things with you about what they were hearing happening in the neighborhood about crime?
They did.
All right. Did you discuss this generally with other people that you would see in the neighborhood?
Yes, it was going on so much in the neighborhood that was usually the topic. If you'd stop by, hey, have you heard of, down the road they had a car broken in. Have your car been broken in lately? Stuff like that. It was just kind of common occurrence at that point. So yeah, it was a discussion.
Were there other sources other than your own experience or talking to your mom and dad where you learned about crime going on in the neighborhood?
Yes.
What was that?
Facebook. And,
Tell me about that.
Okay, so Facebook, there was a page. I don't know who set it up, but there's a Satilla Shores Neighborhood Watch or Facebook page, and I was either added on there or either way I was on there. And then scrolling through Facebook, if you're not looking for it, if something is updated on there, it would pop up. And say in the evening I'm looking, and a neighbor would pop up. Hey, we just had police came through. Somebody, the neighbor had somebody in their yard, or something was broken into, or something like that. So I'd see that, scroll through, and then my mother was also on there, so she would advise me, hey, did you see this? And I would look at it or something like that. And then also there's Exit 29. It's called the Exit 29.
Let me stop you there.
Okay.
How is Exit 29 relevant as a location?
That was the area we were at. Exit 29 is the interstate exit, which is a couple miles from the highway. And then they had police scanners and stuff like that on there too. So you'd see stuff on there as well.
All right. Did you ever listen to police scanners or pay attention to notices from police scanners?
No, I did download it. If there was something going on in the neighborhood, I'd pop it up, but you never really catch anything.
Did you and your mother and father ever caution one another about how you left your cars or how you would leave your things around the house?
Constantly.
Like in what ways?
She would constantly remind me and my father to lock our trucks, or we'd tell her to lock the trucks, but hey, you need to lock your car. I saw where somebody had their stuff broken into or something like that.
So as we're moving from late 18 into early 19, which I think the time period that you're talking about, how did you feel about what you were learning about crime in the neighborhood?
It was beginning to become a problem, and it was definitely a problem because it was starting to be a common occurrence, like I said.
Okay. Did you take any action at that time, other than what you've described by you and your parents talking about locking things up and keeping stuff out of your car that could be stolen? Was that about it?
That was about it, yes.
Did your parents appear to be concerned about the crime that was happening in the neighborhood?
Well, we would discuss it, but it was about the same level that I was on. You know, just hey, make sure that our stuff is locked and secured.
And how old are your parents back in 1819?
Early 60s.
Early 60s, okay. Did you speak to ultimately any other of your neighbors in the neighborhood about crime in the neighborhood as we move forward from February 2019 into the summer? Did you begin to speak to people about crime in the neighborhood?
Yes, it was like I said. It wasn't. We weren't searching it, but you stopped by. You know, yes, I saw this or heard this or read that or
And can you name some of the people that you may have spoken
I know one was Matt Albenzi. He would stop by, see us in the yard, and it would come to it. I am sure there was another neighbor down
Was
the road.
Kim Ballesteros a neighbor that you spoke to?
Yes, Kim Ballesteros was right across the street from us, and she had her purse stolen from out of her vehicle, I believe, and she told me about that. Yes.
Okay. Do you remember when that was supposed to have happened?
It was summer of 2019, June, July, somewhere around there.
Okay. What about Randy Parr? Is he one of your neighbors?
Yes.
Did you ever speak to him about crime?
Yes. I've told him what was going on around there.
Okay.
And he mentioned-
Did you notice that your neighbors began to take certain actions around their homes based on the crime that was happening in the neighborhood?
Yes, about that time around May, June, July, around there, you started noticing and hearing people starting to put cameras in their houses. It was I can't remember all the people, but you go down the road, you drive down from Still Drive to my house, you see cameras on every, just starting to come up on every house, and also people weren't going out as much in the evening times either.
What do you mean?
Towards dusk, you used to see kids running around, and older people walking dogs, stuff like that, and it started backing off. And people talking about people in the neighborhood that are these break-ins and these people that are coming around these houses. They were concerned about it, so they wouldn't come out as much anymore.
Did you begin to notice whether police cars were driving through the neighborhood or doing any patrols?
Yes.
And where would you notice that?
See them. You see them, or you could see it on Facebook. Somebody put, "Hey, saw, Glen County Police came through, had the lights on, the side lights, or be outside and see them, or it was pretty obvious."
And did these types of activities give you any concern or cause you to worry in any ways?
It was concerning that nothing was done, that there was, that they have to continue to be in the neighborhood. I was glad to see them in the neighborhood, but it's concerning that you have to have that constant presence.